Hi, friends. I'm Nancy Fox.
And I'm Elaine Doran. Welcome to Deep Diving Divas. This is where there's reinvention, inspiration, and a splash of fun on the menu every time.
I love that. This week on Deep Diving Divas, we're rolling out the red carpet for a guest who didn't just grow up watching showbiz, he was born into it. Kerry Barry has been surrounded by glitz and glamour and larger-than-life personalities his entire life.
And you know what? This is because his father happened to be Dave Barry, a legendary comedian, a voiceover artist, and a comic. Kerry's going to tell us some amazing stories that probably some of you have never heard or read in People magazine about some of the stars that his dad worked with and all the things in his family of 5 kids being in a celebrity fun family household.
Can't wait. So buckle up, divas, because it's showtime.
Yeah.
Hey there, friends, it's Nancy and Elaine. They're the Deep Diving Divas, it's quite a name. They're diving deep into the things that matter most, from friendships to family and so much more. Join them each week for a splash of fun.
Hi, Kerry. So nice to meet you.
Nancy, it's a pleasure to meet you too. How nice. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited about this moment to share. And I'm so glad you invited me to do so.
Kerry, I've known you for a long time. In fact, you were
Slightly.
probably my first crush, probably. No, not my first. I had a crush starting in kindergarten, honestly. But you played baseball at Roxbury Park in Beverly Hills with all the guys. And when all of us from elementary school got together to get ready to go to high school, all the girls went crazy because there was Kerry Barry, this great baseball player. We couldn't wait. We were going to now see you every day at Beverly High. So it's a treat and it's fun. And we've stayed in touch over the years with our high school reunion.
Yeah.
So
God
it's
bless.
just so fun. We can't
God bless all of us.
wait.
That we've lived this far in our lives to share those moments later on down the road, like reunions. I love reunions. I love the people we grew up with. Fabulous group of people.
And you have got so many stories to share. So we're going to get started. So I'm going to ask you the first question. I mean,
Okay.
what was it like? Because I grew up with a lot of families that were celebrities, but your family was very different, very special. What was it like growing up in an entertainment family? Very
Special, of course, and very eventful, very exciting, life. And, I admired my dad so much and my mother because they had such a bond together of marriage. And it was we had 5 kids and everybody, wow. There was such a great balance of love between my folks and and all the kids. Nobody was overshadowed or undershadowed. Everybody got their share of love and direction. And it was just fantastic. In my family, the word boredom did not exist. We were on our toes. If we weren't, my dad was, and he made sure that we were. That word, he didn't want to hear about being bored because it was like he found life so exciting and so unpredictably wonderful sometimes. He was just a great gentleman and a great man. And, I admired him greatly. I loved him and, respected him for what he did in life. The toughest business, the show business, the entertainment business has got to be the toughest that exists out of a lot of businesses. And it's just the way it is. But if you make it like he did, it's just a dream come true. And that's what it was. Our life was a dream come true for growing up as kids and in Beverly Hills, Elaine, as we did. It was so special. It was such a special town. Who else, what percentage of people were able to grow up in a town like Beverly Hills, 90210? And the TV show, when it was hot, that show just made Beverly Hills hotter, because.
Well, what was it like around the dining room table when you were all sitting there, all 5 kids?
It was like a stage, and I'm going to tell you why. My dad would try and test new material out on us at the dinner table. And if he told a joke and we were all on the same page at the same time, listening attentively, and it hit us in our gut, all of us, we were in tears and laughter. Sometimes I would fall on the floor laughing. It was just incredible. And my dad just, he was so talented. Sometimes at the dinner table, I would walk in the kitchen and he'd be doodling. He was an artist before he was a comedian. He went to Pratt Institute back east. Oh. He did cartoons. He did characters, like the best of them. A lot of our entertainers were not only, actors or comedians, they also had other talents that just, they were multi-talented people. Tony Curtis, all these guys painted, Kirk Douglas, all the greats. They had something else to do to keep their lives interesting.
So, Kerry, would you say your dad was a good teacher then and a role model?
Absolutely. My dad was a leader, and they're hard to find today, especially in show business. So people are so involved with themselves that they don't have a chance to explain anything. Like, I've never really heard other kids that grew up with entertainment fathers or mothers to talk about what was that life like, besides in some cases it was miserable. A lot of kids that grew up with entertainment, fathers or mothers that had a lot of personal problems, trying to figure out what the hell they were going to do in their life. In other words, an identity crisis. I didn't have that problem. My dad was such he was a great teacher. He didn't have to talk about it. He just was that. He was it. And he overcame obstacles. He was powerful. He was a real gentleman too. And, the big stars, the household names, my dad was right in there with everybody else, but he didn't get the attention that big star. Cause, he never had a big show like Johnny Carson. When you have a show like that, you become a household name. Don Rickles, these were the big names, but my dad was right in there with everybody. He, like the Rat Pack with Sinatra and Joey Bishop and, Sammy Davis. My dad was right in there with these guys. He was on the outskirts of town, so to speak. He was hovering around these guys, and they all knew him and loved him. Yeah. He entertained with them. He opened up for Sinatra. Back in 1927, I got a story. He was entertaining at the Paramount Theater with Sinatra when they were in their late 20s. And the audience was going mad, just like they did for Elvis and the Beatles. It was insane.
Like our dog is doing.
My dad looked out there and he went, Jesus, I got to go out and open up this show. What am I going to do? How am I going to overcome this? He went on stage. He got the roar of the crowd. He went off stage, took the American flag, dropped it down in the middle of the stage, put his hand on his heart and proceeded to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And the whole place went silent, completely silent. And then he did his act. Very clever, very smart. He got the job done. And that's what show business is. It's a job. James Cagney, I used to listen to Cagney talk in interviews. He used to say, we got a job to do. I get in front of that camera. I got a job. I'm going to do that job and I'm going to win. And I'm going to win with confidence. I'm going to know my lines. I'm going to know what the story is. I'm going to have an idea of everything. Just like Tom Hanks says, when you come to the set, you better have an idea, you better know your lines, and you better come early and don't come late. These are the big three for Tom Hanks as an actor. If you can do those three things, you'll get respect, and you'll be respected by your crew and your director and everybody else. And this is the way you got to be reliable. My dad, he was a role model because he was so reliable. Whenever he'd get a call, even when he was sick, the show must go on. He was doing a show down at the Follies in Palm Springs, and he got caught in a parking lot with my mother. The emergency brake was released, and two cars crushed my dad. Oh, and he was caught between two cars. And guess what? He did his show that night in a wheelchair.
Oh my God!
This was my dad.
And you are talking about Palm Springs when he was doing a show, but your dad spent a lot of time in Las Vegas, and I think you did too. Can you share a few of those things that you can do, that you won't be breaking the law?
No, I won't be breaking the law. My dad opened up for the greatest stars that ruled at that time, the golden era on Las Vegas on the Strip. For example, and I don't mind, I made a note of all these stars because there's so many of them. But Judy Garland, Lena Horne, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Wayne Newton, Betty Grable, Hoyt Axton, Elvis Presley, Tom Jones, Tony Martin. He also was in a show for 3 years by Don Arden, who produced it, Hello America. And in that show, there was a little young girl as a dancer, and guess who it was? It was Goldie Hawn. And Don Arden fired her. She got fired from that show.
You know, I met her one time, and she said the one thing she wanted to be always was a dancer, not a comedian.
There you go.
And she said that, here she ended up being a comedian. She said it was very hard. She had some issues. It was very hard for her trying to make people laugh because she just wanted to dance. So so this is an interesting story you're saying now, Kerry.
Yeah, it's very interesting you talk about her with comedy. For me as an actor, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is, to be funny, you just, it's a knack. First of all, you have to be really aggressive, and timing with comedy is everything. My dad he was all about timing and rhythm. It's the same thing in comedy. You've got to have rhythm, just like, you see the great comedians, Rob Reiner and All of the Family, how they were, everybody, how they performed and interacted with each other. They were dynamic and they were confident. I remember an interview with, Dick Cavett was interviewing Kirk Douglas, and he asked him, what's this thing about acting? What's to it? And he looked at him, he says, I got one word. And he said, what is that? He says, confidence. And if you look at Douglas, how he was as an actor, extremely confident in everything that he said and did in his dialogue and being a character. So you've got to be, believe in yourself. And the people around you have to believe in you. Everything's about believing in you. So, that's very important. But getting back to my dad opening up for these stars, they would have parties at the end of the night when everybody was through with their gigs that night, the last show, maybe 2 a.m, whatever it was. And for example, Shirley MacLaine used to have ice cream parties wherever all the stars would come, and, they'd have all the guys set up with the ice cream, and they'd have ice cream, that's what they did. And she was just a sweetheart. Shirley was just she was very fond of my dad, just like Marilyn Monroe, who my dad did 2 movies with.
Oh, so tell us about his experience. What did he think? Or did you get to meet Marilyn Monroe?
I did, and I'm going to tell you how I met her. First of all, he did her second movie, 1947, Ladies of the Chorus. My brother, Alan, was by my dad's side. My dad had a character back in the 30s that he did on the radio back in those days. And I was sitting in his arms when I was 5 years old, and we had this voice in the family that everybody could do, inherited. It was a gurgle voice, and it went something like this. Wow, how do you do? Hi, I'm a swordfish. I live in the city. Wow. Well, he would do that gurgle voice in the movie with Marilyn, and my dad was an interior decorator. They knock on the door. The butler comes to the door, opens the door, and there's my dad in the beautiful tuxedo, the old striped tuxedo with the tails, and my little brother in a tux next to him. My dad went under the character was Mr. Ripple, and Alan's name was Trickle, like a trickle off the ripple. And he did the gurgle voice, and the butler would say, what can I do for you? And he says, wow, how do you do? Big laugh, great part, cameo part, very brief, but it had its place.
All right, so let's go back. You said you met Marilyn Monroe. How did that?
Some Like It Hot, Billy Wilder, 1959. Hotel Del Mar Coronado, where they filmed a lot of it besides the studio. So my dad brought me down to the set that day, and he says, we're going over to Marilyn's dressing room to say hello. I said, okay. So we go to dressing, knock on the door. Who's there? Dave Barry. Hold on. Goes. A woman opens the door. We come in. It's just her makeup artist, the woman that opened the door. Marilyn sitting in the chair getting her makeup for her scene that day. And my dad and I. And we sat down and the door was closed. Yeah. So we had this beautiful conversation. She was very fond of my dad. They knew each other quite well, going back to 1947. Anyway, she was so sweet. She was so nice. And she was so beautiful. And, such a tragedy, that would, of course, we all know what happened to her at the end of her life. But I still go to visit her grave in Westwood. She's at Pierce Brothers in the wall, in a crypt.
Yeah.
And, on that crypt, some girls have taken their lips with lipstick and put it up against the cement, and you see it in the wall that visited with her. at her graveside. So.
Boy, these stories are so amazing, Kerry.
Then wait, I didn't get the story in about the Rancho Vegas back in 46. Yeah. My dad was entertaining there. In that show, he had some jokes about the mafia. And Bugsy Siegel at that time was running the Flamingo, in the beginning of the days of Las Vegas on the Strip. He sent a couple of his boys over. They were off stage, and they called my dad when he got off stage and said, Mr. Siegel would like to talk to you. Anyway, they escorted him with my mother, who was scared to death. They went to the Flamingo. Dad went in to talk to Bugsy, and Bugsy said, Dave, we love you. We love your humor. You keep up the good work, but do me a favor. Don't talk about us and lay off. Okay, Dave? I'm like, that's no problem, Mr. Siegel. You got it.
Did he do the gurgle voice?
No, he didn't do the gurgle voice. Bugsy did the gurgle voice. Well, thank you, Dave. But anyway,
wow.
Anyway, that's quite a story and true. And there were other books my dad's written up, like Mickey Cohen, who was a big gangster. Dave Barry getting out of the car in front of the Sands with Mickey Cohen. So it's somewhere in a book about Mickey.
Yeah.
But anyway, the public always thought that Sinatra and everything was tied in with the mafia. Hey, you know what? Maybe they were, but they were tied up in an entertainment way, not in a criminal way. Just, hey, they were big stars, and these gangsters loved to bring in their girlfriends or their wives and impress people, come in and sit front stage, at the ring at the front of the stage and impress people. That's how the mob was. They like to impress people. Those were the.
What about the Friars Club? You said your dad. Did he entertain you at the Friars Club?
What a world that was. They tore it down, unfortunately, and everybody has passed away. Burl, all the great comedians of all time, they're all gone. But those days were fantastic. I remember Dick Shawn. I don't know if you remember him.
Of course, from a mad world. That's what I remember him from.
Very funny man. He actually died on stage of a heart attack. He was a heavy smoker. Oh. But he did a funny bit at the Friars Club. He was talking about basketball players. What he did is he's very clever. Took a chair and he stood up on the chair so he looked 8 feet tall. And he did his jokes as, talking about basketball.
Yeah.
But just the visual on it of him being 8 feet, standing up on a chair. Just that was so funny, right away from the guts. But, at those Friars Club roasts, it was all dirty jokes, very risque, off the wall humor. I wish I could tell a few of those jokes now, but they're too off the wall. Some brilliant jokes my dad used to tell with just belly laughs, timing. His timing was just so right on. By the time the joke hit the punchline, everybody was already laughing.
You told us one of the jokes about the guy in the audience.
Yeah, there's another joke. It's a little risque, but not so much. My dad would look down at the wife, a couple sitting, and he'd say, "Ma'am, is your husband a great lover?" And she'd be bewildered. And he said, "Well, did you ever catch him at it?" Things like that, but still clean, not dirty.
Right. By today's world, definitely clean.
Oh yeah, that's a clean joke compared to you had guys like George Carlin, who, these guys they were storytellers. Those type of comedians, my dad always felt didn't work out in Las Vegas. They needed guys like himself, Bob Hope, Don Rickles, guys that just punched it out. They didn't give people a time to think about what's going on. They just would give it bullets. They just keep shooting like a machine gun. Just these one-liners. That's what Bob Hope was known. He was just brilliant with the one-liners. So that was a type of humor then. Today, it's just not the same.
What do you think your dad would think? What would your dad think of the humor today?
Well, he would never change his ways. He would stick to his guns. He would do what he does best. He wouldn't try to, emanate anybody else's humor. Never. It was always his humor. He owned it. He had his signature, his name on it. And that was it. But, he was just, he was such a wonderful guy. He was my best friend. I would.
What do you think you inherited from your dad? I know you're the second oldest of 5.
What I inherited from my dad is what you're seeing right now. Somebody who is straightforward. has the information and knows how to deliver it. And going back into acting, which I'm 79 years old, it's unheard of. There's not too many guys out there that would go back into acting at 79 or go into acting at all. It's a very tough, as I said earlier, it's a very hit and miss business. You got to be at the right place at the right time with the right look and the talent to pull it off. And you've got to have a look that they're looking. They have somebody in mind, and only one person's going to get the part. Even the big stars audition still, if they have to. And they don't get the part, what are they going to do? You got to move on and turn the page and go to the next audition. That's the way, when you have rejection, you just move right through it. It's like it never happened. You just keep going. And that's what my dad did in life. And that's what I do. That's what I inherited. Never back down, never give up, keep going. When you get knocked down, get back up on your feet, keep punching and keep hitting hard. Somebody's going to get knocked out sooner or later.
Right.
And
I guess the key for a lot of people in your industry, can't take it personal. You might not be the type they're looking for. They have a type, like you said. So how do you deal with rejection when you are going to auditions?
What I just said, intellectually, you have to figure it out. Like, wait a minute, these casting directors, they have a job to do. This is what I heard Matt Damon, the actor, quote. He says, I used to hate the casting, the rejection and the put down and all that stuff. And you walk away so sad and disillusioned and depressed. You know what I figured out? This is what Damon said. I figured out these people have a job to do just like you do. They want you to be the right person for the part. That takes them off the hook. They've done their job. They found the right person to for the film, the movie, the play, whatever. That's what Damon said. And when he said that, it hit home with me. And I said, you know what? I left acting because I was really against how people were treated, cold blooded. I didn't agree with it. So I left it and I went on to other things that I was interested in. The garment industry, I spent 35 years as an executive, but that taught me all about business, and acting is show business. There's no business like show business. It's a business. You've got to treat it that way. There's the creative part and there's the non-creative part. If you put all that together, you're a dynamic, you're a creatively, intuitive person because you're onto it. You know what to do. I mean, I can sit in front of an agent and I can tell them, I know what everybody's supposed to do. You got you got a team. That's what it is in show. My dad had a team. He had his manager. He had a CPA, looked out for him financially. You got to have all your ducks in a row with all the people that surround you that are honest.
Yes, I was going to say, you've got to trust them because that's the really hard part.
Well, my dad got burned by a business manager once. Yeah. Took him to court.
There's so many people love that story. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of
Kerry, we're going to have to close. So before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Well, just that, as I said earlier, I've come back into the acting world and I'm looking forward to it. My dad left me with his DNA. If you want to know where did I get this ability to talk and deliver information and express myself? I got it from him. I did. I really inherited. I used to watch him all the time, and I absorbed all this information and I actualized it and I put it into good use. But I will leave this message with people out there. Don't get bored in life. There's always something we can all do. You just have to go within yourself and figure it out. But for me, it's acting, it's riding horses. At 79, I'm still interested in the same things I always were. I love baseball, the Dodgers. Yes. I participate wherever I can and I keep going and keep the wheel spinning. So don't get bored. Life is short. There's just too much to do. And not enough time to do it.
Perfect. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Elaine.
No, I'm just saying you're in a hurry and you're getting a lot of it done. So that is great. It's a real inspiration to watch and see.
Kerry, how can people get a hold of you?
Oh, I'll give you, people can get a hold of me through my email. I'm happy to give it out.
Do it.
I'd love to hear from some of the folks that have seen this podcast and discussing what it's like. I'm the first person that I know of that has gone on any show that as a kid as an entertainment child growing up in a family. I've never seen anybody that I can remember, watching or listening to or reading about.
So give us your email. How can they get a
Kerry Barry, KERRY, BARRY, the number 89 at gmail.com.
Perfect.
That's easy.
Kerry, a pleasure. Fun.
So much fun to see you.
Hey,
I hope I see you before the next reunion.
well, you better. You better. We're all going to be around. Yeah, we're going to be there. Don't worry. Hey, God bless you both. Thank you again for having me. God bless your audience, and have a beautiful day.
It's great.
All right.
Thanks for your inspiration. Bye.
Bye.
Love you guys. See you.
Bye.
Take care.
Nancy, I know we like to have our honest conversations. I'm kind of wondering, I don't know how much you stay home these days. I know for me, I've always been running, busy, always out at meetings and everything else. But it seems like now so much of it is at home. And I sometimes just wonder, because it can be dangerous sometimes. You don't want to be in your house too much, but I love it. So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think it's dangerous. Yeah, I beg to differ because of your career and all the years that you were out and about from morning, noon, and night. Same thing for me. I love being at home. Even when I didn't have my businesses anymore, Alan and I have traveled the world, and he always wanted a trip in front of us, and we were always going. And we got to the stage where we were traveling 3 months out of the year. Not all at once, but that's what it would come down. A month here, a month there, a month there. And I would say, as much as I love travel, I'm also a homebody. So I don't know. I think it's fine. There are some days when I don't leave my house. It doesn't mean you're not productive.
Because what starts to happen, and there's a Yiddish word for it or whatever, you get spilkies, you get ants in your pants, and it's like, I was like that as a kid. I think I told you I had to get off my bike and ride around the block before dessert or whatever we had, so if I'm here for about 3 or 4 hours, all of a sudden I go, I can't breathe. I got to go outside. I got to get fresh air. I got to take a walk. I got to go run in there. And I just have to go. And then I always want to hurry and get back. I want to come back and see my doggy and my husband, so I love being home, but I do feel like, as soon as I get out, you just go, there is a whole world out there. It's an interesting thing to happen.
It is. But you know what I say? Then I'm going to give you permission, Elaine. I think we all are. If you feel the need after being home, if you're getting I'm
Spilkies.
Jewish, but I don't, spilkies. I don't know.
Never heard that?
No.
Oh, spilkies.
Spilkies. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you're getting the spilkies, then I say, go out. Get out.
Get out and have your spilkies.
Don't you guys all agree? Okay. With that, we're leaving we're leaving spilkies. Now, for any of you that want to get a hold of us and talk about spilkies, please send us an email at the deepdivingdivas@gmail.com. And we're on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, podcasts at Deep Diving Divas. All right, Elaine, spilkies or not,
I got to get out of here. I got the spilkies. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.